Hey, thanks for checking out this video for Shadow of the Dragon Queen, Chapter 3B. There'll be spoilers here abounding, so if you're a player, please come back after playing the adventure. The project lead for this one is F. Wesley Schneider, and characters should be level 3 for this part of the adventure. Here is the breakdown of how I did it for a convention or a game day in 4 hours, and of course you can adjust this if you're playing at home and do it however long you like. Back in Vogler is where this part starts. Now I actually made that part of 3A when I ran it, as well as sighting the enemy. That will save up some time in the end for you to expand the invasion and the escape from Vogler. But if you're doing back in Vogler and sighting the enemy, you'll want to try and finish that part up in about an hour. And then you have a fateful morning where you are running the preparations and the interactions with the NPCs in the village. And then you have the invasion and the escape. And of course, you can expand or contract how many interactions you have with NPCs and more or less Vogler invasion encounters when you get to the last half of the adventure to make it finish up in 4 hours. Music for the adventure I use from Tabletop Audio. Here's their link, tabletopaudio.com. I use the Forest Day, the Forest Night, and then Dock District when they were in town, or Docks District, and then Burning Village during the Vogler invasion part of the adventure. So those sound like, so I'm playing right now, Dock District, I'll pause that, do Forest Day. So Forest Day just is nice peaceful, walking in the forest sounds. Now if they're doing their spying at night, then I'd do Forest Night, of course. Is that here? Don't have that handy. Forest, yeah, there it is. A little bit more dark, strange sounds, hoots of owls, wolves growling in the distance, or howling in the distance. So that's the Forest Night. And then Docks District is great in general for the village of Vogler. And then as you get into the warfare, you can try, medieval battle, try havoc, but I did Burning Village for part of mine. Start fading out Docks District to bring it Burning Village. There you go. So that's the music I was using. Just leave Dock District on. We'll go through the rest. Then tokens for the adventure, and I'll put links to all the ones that came from the adventure, the tokenified versions of the things that came in the adventure. You got Becklin, Cudgel, Vicaris the Younger, Vicaris the Elder. Ladara doesn't appear in Part B, and there's a even better version of Ladara by the original artist. There's a version of Ladara for later in the adventure, but not this part in the adventure. But do a search for Ladara, you'll find that pretty quick and easy, I think. Darret, Jayev, Raven, Town Guard, Warhorse, Vogler, these are part A of the adventure. Baz Draconian will come up, and Dragon Army Soldier, regular riding horse, commoners, the Catback Draconians. You get a chance to see a Bozak Draconian in this first adventure. You got Viewmaster Golcag here, and of course the Gnomish invention, repurposed by the Dragon Army as this Boiler Drac. So I'll have links to all those in the description below. And now let's look at the maps for the adventure. When I set the adventure up, I set it up with the whole thing at once, but of course I hide the things the players haven't got to yet. So you'll see everything here, but it's not what the players see at the start of the adventure. Everything that's kind of in the darker gray, they can't see. So here is the whole map. All these map sections here in the middle are by Tessa, and I got a map section here by Heroic Maps. And then the Battle of High Hill and the maps of the area are by the adventure, from the adventure. I don't know who the artist is. I need to look that up. Hold on just a second. Okay, I think the cartographer for the adventure is Francesca Berald. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Not positive I am. Those are the maps. So let's look at the adventure now in a little bit more detail. So again, if you're doing the section where the party goes out and scouts, I got this map by Heroic Maps that I used, or this is the map by Tessa. Oh, let's look at those websites. So Heroic Maps, I use the Dragon's Graveyard Lost Valley map here. I just got off a section of it because I didn't want to show a whole dragon skeleton, but a few dragon skeleton pieces thought was pretty thematic, so that was cool. And then from Tessa, her maps aren't out yet, but they'll be here on the Dungeon Masters Guild, and you can just search for Tessa. My guess is she'll be putting those here, and when she does, I'll add that to the link in the description below. All right, so now in detail. So you're going to start out here with, actually I'm going to go to my previous macros here, with the scouting. So they return to Vogler, and they can interrogate whoever they captured from High Hill. One of the mercenaries, for sure, they would have captured one. Cudgel would have captured one if the party didn't think to capture one. And they can find out from this this mercenary, if they can get him to confess, which they should be able to, that the lieutenant of Cudgel was hired by some mysterious agent. And so they're going to go scout the location where they are hired. And when they scout that location, they will find tracks leading deeper into the wilderness and to the base of over 1,000 soldiers occupying a camp. So as they're on this cliff top, overlooking this base of soldiers, that'd be here on Tessa maps or here on heroic maps, 3 Dragonians and 2 Dragon Army soldiers come across them. When I ran it, I did it at the end of the last session. They were 2nd level, and that was a really hard encounter. 3rd level should be a little bit easier, so you might even be able to up it 1 or 2 combatants, depending on your party's tactical skills. They'll finish that encounter, and then they'll return from their scouting, and they'll have a long night and gain a level when I did it, or go right in the next part if you're doing it with when they're 3rd level. So now they return back to Vogler. They know that Vogler is in trouble. They have an enemy army encamping a day's march away. So in the morning, they'll wake up to see that the mayor's been up all night. And the mayor should be here talking with Becklin and with Cudgel, and then Lord Bacaris should join mid-conversation and be put out that he was not part of the conversation. The party should be involved here. Then, after that, they'll have the messenger. Someone will rush in, announce there's a messenger at the gate. They'll go rushing back to the gate. Oh, and here's the beautiful map of the city. So they started there at the Brass Crab, rushed back to the river gate, which we have mapped here from Tessa, and there's a Dragon Army rider at the gate. A Dragon Army rider is going to hold out a rolled parchment, say who speaks for the village, and then the party can read that parchment. And the message is that, by orders of Balphaon, the voice of Takhisis, they shall quarter the Dragon Army soldiers. My players right away said, no way, that's not good. Now, if your party doesn't think right away that's not good, then you can have the discussions of the Brass Crab, where the mayor asks, what does everyone think, and what does the party think? And at this, hopefully, Cudgel will say definitely she wants to use the regiment, but she's got to get past those Dragon Army soldiers. And Becklin, she's not wanting, the army here. They're going to be bad, and that they should get ready to evacuate and go to Kalaman. Now, my party had already suggested that, so she was just backing them up, and that came up, so that was perfect. Then, how do you attack these Dragon Army soldiers? The party had spotted the extra 4, so they knew they were going to be facing the messenger and the 4 up on the hill. And how did they get there? And of course, they got the gnome flinger. So you got this guy, which the Kinder in the party had already used one time, so they were aware of its functions. So they met Than, the Tinker Gnome, and then I don't recall if they even asked to have help landing, because one of the party members had Featherfall, but I still wanted to get the Nary Crash magic item in there, or common item in there. So I did that. Then the Tinker Gnome told them about that, and they take the Gnome Flinger, fly across, and attack. Then Cudgel, once they defeated the Dragon Army soldiers, and they cut down the horse right away, the Solamnic Knights were kind of displeased in having to do that, but they realized they had to stop the messenger, so they did that. Then Cudgel will ride out for reinforcements, and then the party can start preparing the village. And they talked about all the things they had to do, gather the people together in the village, get boats. And so they gathered everyone into the village square where the mayor could address the village, and the village could start working on preparations to get away. Then they had to find ships, and here's where I used the whispered knowledge skills for the ships. They had the survival check, or I also give people a water vehicle proficiency this information, the investigation check, and the persuasion check. I made a persuasion check to have been talking to villagers and know about all their project boats and other things like that. Then Cudgel returns, and they make plans for the battle. Then this is where they could see that Becklin is keeping something back, and both 2 different characters could see that with the insight check. So I whispered that to them, and then they asked Becklin what's going on. She gives them, hey, can you do this thing for me? Take this box, give it to, if I don't return, Darrett. And, of course, the Kinders teared up at that sad scene. And then Becklin rode out. So as Becklin's gone for a little while, the party's getting more boats, getting people to the boats, going to get the box from the Thornkeep, and, so this is just before that. The enemy's sighted. Then Becklin leaves, and there's the tearful scene there with Darrett. Darrett reeling for Becklin's defeat at the end of the scenario. And, if you play it in the board game, which I haven't played that. I've got it. It arrived a week late, but I haven't dug into the board game yet. Okay, so now we're into the invasion proper. So now you need a little scene that plays out about an hour where the party's prepping, like I was saying, they get the box potentially, and then a scout comes running down. This is back to the Thornwall Keep. They should have been just leaving the keep, and they'd be down this road a little bit from the gate, and the scout comes in, the Baz Draconian jumps on the scout, and the party knows it's time to evacuate. So then you're into the evacuation. You should be at the 2 hour mark at the latest when this starts, because there's a lot of combat to fight through to get out of there. So you can increase or decrease the combat encounters as you need to. You'd want to hit the very last encounter, the escape encounter, before you have an hour remaining. So the first thing I did was Vogler swiftly being overwhelmed. So the party's rushing from the gate. Likely they need to get more villagers out of the town, so I had him come back to the village center, or they came back to the village center, to kind of draw in all the people and get them going towards the wharf. So they get to the village center, they arrive from the west, you see villagers leaving, they see Takhisis the Younger leaving ahead of all the women and children, running towards the wharf, like the coward he is. And then it's getting darker now by this time, and now you can change these maps to Tessa provided like burning village versions of these maps, and they're fantastic. So there we go. The party comes in here, and the first encounter that they can have, or they will be with a Baz Draconian or a Cap Actor flying overhead. So this thing will drop on top of them. I actually had them fight two. I don't know what I was thinking, because these things are tough. So start with one. Unless they wipe the floor with it, I'd stay with one. And then after that encounter, before the next encounter, or anywhere in this time, you can have them see the riders on the hill, and this is a great foreshadowing. So I did this by whispering to one of the characters that made a high perception check, or the highest perception. They see the distant flash of light catching their attention atop the cliffs north of town, and they see 3 figures sitting motionless on horses. And I showed them this picture when they saw that. And the players might know, I didn't give this in the history check even, but some players might know what a black robe is. So they have that fight. They help the people out of the village center, and they start heading towards the wharf. So those are the riders. Then they get to they're heading for the wharf. They have the fight with 5 Baz Draconians, and then they hear the clanking sound. Something foreboding's coming, something clanking and big. And then they have a couple of guards being attacked by 5 Draconians. So I had them by this time get down to the wharf, the dock district. And here's the dock district, but of course I had it on the other map that Tessa provided. There, the burning map of Vogler. So I have a couple guards over here, and I put a couple more over here. I put Baz Draconians coming at them, 5 of them. If they get the guards alive, then one of the soldiers will give them a potion of healing, so that's cool. Then once they fight the militia or help the militia, they have the escape, and this is where they see the dragon. Now, I didn't want to put the boiler drac on the map right at the start, so they'd know it wasn't real. So I didn't have ready, but I should have grabbed like a black dragon token. Works good, a large black dragon token. I'd have that ready to go when you're doing that, have them see that in the distance, and only when they get close, like within about 30, 40 feet, turn it into the boiler drac. I had the various different random encounters happening at every round. I had that Bozak Draconian with, I always throw in some extra magic items, and I had him with wand and magic missiles wandering around. And they have that fight, and as they're doing that one, and this boiler drac is tough. 5d10 in a cone, 60-foot cone. When this thing breathed the first time, it got like almost every member of the party in it. And that's a lot of damage for 3rd level characters to live through. So telegraph that it takes a lot of actions to prep it, and the party hopefully will get those Baz Draconians killed that come in around it. So that thing, or then the party can turn it and use it on their own. And I didn't really telegraph how dangerous it was. I guess I did the ready aim fire one. Yeah, I did that to the screen so they would have known there's a chance for it to explode, and that explosion can just finish a party off. If it's 3d10, well, it's all fire in the book, but I made it some fire, some piercing for shrap. Okay, so then they're hopefully done fighting that. Maybe they've commandeered the boiler drac and trying to figure out how to use it to defend the village when out comes Goldcag. So you got Pewmaster Goldcag. It says the brass crab shatters, but that's a long ways away from the... Let's see, how far away is that? So they're down here fighting, maybe. So if the brass crab shatters, if they're way down, all the way to the market, not just at the first part of the wharf, then maybe you make it a different building that they're coming through. But if not, you'd put the Viewmaster basically right like here, coming from the brass crab. All right. So then they hopefully finish the Viewmaster. What are they going to say? When they arrive here and they see the people trying to get off on the boats and all the villagers running for the boats, they should see sailing away Lord Bakharis the Younger, on a boat, not even waiting for everyone else to get off the village. Okay, so they fight Gulkag, and then they have the final boat, and that's where Jayev comes running down, holding Becklin's horned helm. Another sad scene for Darrett. And Darrett was pretty brave in this whole fight. He really kind of came into his own in this fight. The party, of course, had his armor with him, and then the last glimpse of Vogler as the boats are leaving. The party saved the village, and they're heading toward Kalaman. And that's the end of this part of the adventure. So amazing maps here by Tessa. Really fun adventure. Lots of poignant scenes. Lots of choices for how the party's going to do the defenses of the village and the dragon army here. So great adventure, and I'm looking for the next part. Let me know how it goes when you run it, and have a good day.